Good morning, Year 4. Welcome to today's English lesson where we are going to be really focusing upon how we apply punctuation when a character is speaking. So our specific focus for today is upon inverted commas, how they're used, where they're used, and trying to debunk the myth that they're complicated. So what are they? They are a bit strange because over the years people have referred to them in various different ways. So when I was at school they were called speech marks, and throughout the early years of my teaching they were still referred to as speech marks. You hear them referred to as quotation marks as well, but within the English curriculum these days we talk about them as being inverted commas, and they are specific with their position and the job that they do. But don't let yourself get confused about it, because they really are just about making sure that when a character is speaking and you're explaining what someone has said, that it's just about that specific use of punctuation. So when do we use them? We use them literally to show when a person is speaking, so that we know when we read that off the page that is a specific thing that somebody has said. And they only go around the part that is being spoken as well. Part of the complicated part about speech and using inverted commas is that people think it needs to go around everything. It doesn't. It's just going around the actual small part that is being said by the character, by the person. Within these next few slides, I've used purple to show where inverted commas go, just so that they can be seen off the background of the rainbow that I've taken. You'll notice that capitals and end punctuation all go within inside the inverted commas, and again that can be something that gets a bit complicated with it. It's not complicated. Just remember that in a sentence normally you would have your capital at the start and you would have your end punctuation at the end. That's exactly the same when you're talking about speech as well, and that the inverted commas go around the whole sentence, go around the whole part. So for example, in this example that you've got on the slide at the moment, "Can I have a drink please?" Rebecca asked. Brian replied, "Yes, of course you can." So you can see exactly where those inverted commas need to go. So we do need to correct our speech punctuation though, because often when we're writing, it's the same with editing any aspects of punctuation. We do need to revisit it, we do need to relook at it and make sure that we've not made any errors with it as well. So it's important to go back and make sure that we have really indicated that it's obvious where that character is speaking, and that's where your inverted commas come into play. So there's an example on the screen here that said, "My name is Rachel," the girl stated. Now there is a character speaking there, it's Rachel. And what's happened here is you've got quite a common mistake that's occurred. The writer, in this instance me, knows that inverted commas need to be used because a person's speaking, but what's happened is that the inverted commas have gone around the entirety of the sentence, which is where it's actually gone wrong. So when you see at the bottom of the screen, this has been punctuated accurately. So you've got inverted commas before your capital letter for my, so that it's going within inside the inverted commas, and at the end you've got your comma to indicate the end of the speech. You've got your second set of inverted commas, and then you've got "the girl stated." Okay, and that's all it is. That's as complicated as it gets. So hopefully you can see from that, using speech punctuation, not complex at all. So let's have a look at another way that we sometimes need to correct it too. Sometimes there might be more than one person who's speaking. So when we're looking at that, we look at it of the rule of when we have a new speaker, we start a new line. So first speaker, second speaker. And then that helps us to set it out really clearly, and we know that there's no errors in terms of it being confusing for anybody. So let's have a look at what's wrong in this example here. "What is the time?" asked Pauline. "It's lunchtime," Harold bellowed. So the writer, me in this instance again, has remembered that the inverted commas need to be there and has got them in the right places, which is fabulous. However, what I have forgotten to do is start a new line when Harold starts speaking. So when Pauline has said her line, Harold is a new speaker, so Harold needs to be on a new line. So if you look at the bottom of the slide, you can see there I've set that out more accurately. So inverted commas, fantastic, capital letter inside it, question mark inside of it. So that's all correct for Pauline. Then Harold speaks, and we've got it's lunchtime, comma, inside of those both sets of inverted commas. So we just need to make sure that we check things through, that we revisit our work when we're looking at speech, just because there's more punctuation involved, but it isn't complicated. It's just about checking for errors. So within today's learning, there's two aspects to it. So there's 2 pages for today's learning. Page number 1 has 10 examples on it. And what I would like you to do to begin with is to use a coloured pencil. Make sure that you use one that can be seen on the page, so that when your work is emailed across to me, I can see it. You know my theory about yellow. Yellow's not really great at doing anything other than colouring in the sunshine. So don't use a really light colour. Use something that's going to be able to be visible on the page and that you can see it more importantly as well. So go through, and for each sentence, what I would like you to do is to circle where the errors are within that speech punctuation. And there may be more than one error. So that's what you need to look for. So look at each example a couple of times. When you're confident, for example with number 1, when you're confident that you have got all of those bits circled and you are happy with looking at it, then what I would like you to do on the line underneath is to then write that sentence out with the punctuation in the correct places. Okay, there are 10 examples for you to go through. Have a look at each one carefully, because as I've said, there may be more than one thing which needs to be changed. If you've got 2 speakers, again remember you need to have a second line. So that might be why there is more than one line for some of the examples. So that's the first activity I would like you to have a go at. It's very straightforward, okay, but it is about being careful and it's about being precise. So just really have a very good look at what you're doing. So if we move on to the next part of today's learning, this comes in 2 parts, okay? The first part should be very straightforward for you, okay? You have got to put in the missing inverted commas from the 8 examples which are there. Again, use a coloured pencil or a pen. Don't use a felt tip though. Use a coloured pencil or pen that allows you to indicate those inverted commas on neatly. They do not need to be enormous, okay? Make them accurate to the size of the text that's on the page. So that's the first 8 that are on the top half of the page. On the second half of the page, you have a load of blank lines. And what I would like you to do is to pick up a reading book of your choice. Pick one that you enjoy. Maybe it's one that you've read lots of times. That's absolutely fine. And what I would like you to do is to go through and find me 3 examples of a character speaking, and I would like you to copy them onto these lines, making sure that you have got your inverted commas and your other punctuation all in there accurately. You might find in your book that it just uses 1 inverted comma when a character's speaking. That's absolutely fine. If you could use the double that we would use in our writing in school, that's how I want you to do it though. So take your time to go through this, because what we're going to do in tomorrow's learning is some of these slides will be the same. It'll be a different background, but some of these slides will be the same tomorrow, because we're going to build upon our work on speech again tomorrow, because it's something that I feel that we really need to do some practice upon. It's about being precise with this punctuation. Remember to send your work through to me so that I can see some really fantastic examples from today. I'm particularly looking forward to the examples that you find from your books, because that gives me an indicator of the kind of things that you really like reading when you're at home as well. So remember to get your adults to send your work through. Make sure it's neat, make sure it's cursive, and that when you're using your colour, it's done really, really tidily. Brilliant. Thanks very much, Year 4.